Right, let's speak to Kevin Hatchard, a European football expert. All right, Kev.
Evening, Kev.
How are we, chaps? Well?
All right, Kev, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Very good.
Look, loads to talk about. Obviously, the main talking point in Man United, Erik ten Hag. Amorim is the guy that looks like he's going to have it. Just talk us through his philosophy, his style of play, what he's about. You know, is he up to the standard of, taking over a huge club in Man United?
I think he's ready. I think if you look at what he's done at Sporting, it's very impressive. So when he was at Braga, for example, he got promoted from within. He was in charge of the B team. Within 2 months of being in charge of Braga, he had got their first win away to Benfica for 65 years. I think he won the first game 7-1. And he'd done enough in 2 months to convince Sporting to pay €10 million to buy him out of his contract.
Wow.
Then he goes to Sporting, and in his first full season, wins the league for the first time in 19 years.
Wow.
They also got to the knockout phase of the Champions League under him. They knocked Arsenal out of the Europa League. And last season, they won the league again. So he's proven that he can win trophies. He's proven that he can develop players. And he's proven that he can rebuild a team after losing guys like Pedro Porro, Nuno Mendes, Mateus Nunes, Joao Palhinha. He lost all of them and still found a way to be successful. So
It wouldn't mind them players in his team in Man United.
Well, yeah. And I think, in terms of his attacking play, he does like to attack. He does like to, be on the front foot, but he doesn't leave big gaps at the back. I think he'll play three at the back if he does go to Old Trafford. I think he'll stick with that. He has shown that he can tweak things. When Gyökeres he scored another 2 goals tonight, by the way. When he went there, he wasn't used to that. He had a centre forward before, but he liked a fluid front three. And he was happy to change it and get the best out of Gyökeres, and he's been brilliant ever since he got there.
Kev, this is not me talking. This is Man United fans that I've spoken to over the last 2 days. They're very excited, but also very wary, because you could have made the same conversation about Erik ten Hag when he came to Manchester United, about what he'd done with Ajax, the players he had, the style of play, what he'd done with them, how he improved players. What if you could speak to those Manchester United fans right now and kind of ease their fears, what would you say to them?
Well, look, any managerial appointment, any transfer is a risk. And I must admit, I thought if Ten Hag had the authority to do the job, I thought he'd do better than he did. I thought that first season was fine. They finished top 3. They won a trophy. He had to make a few compromises because he didn't quite have the players he wanted. But I think, unfortunately, from his point of view, he rather lost his way. And I don't know what last season was, because it wasn't the Ten Hag style that we'd seen at Ajax. It certainly wasn't what we expected him to play. And he just got himself into an almighty mess. And he would say, well, look, I won the FA Cup. And he's right, he did. But you got no sense that that club was heading in the right direction. Now, Amorim, I think you look at what he's done at Sporting, he's shown, and at Braga actually, he's shown that he could turn the team around quickly. He's a good communicator. He speaks really good English. I don't think that's going to be an issue. And the club have to back him and say, look, if there are players you think need rooting out, then you have the authority to do that. Because, there are elements of that squad that you look at and you think, it's quite a few managers they failed now. And that's a concern. So, look, I can't cast iron say that he won't run into the same issues that Ten Hag did in terms of the infrastructure at the club, the attitude of some of the players. But I think his track record shows that he's at least in position to have a shot at it.
Okay, I find it interesting you'll say you play a 3 at the back, because the homework I've done on him, he does enjoy or like a 3 at the back. But I just wonder, going into Manchester United, let's say he does want to play a 3 at the back, how do you see that lining up, and who are the wing-backs?
Yeah, I mean, he is a pragmatist in the sense that he has tweaked things depending on the players that he's got at his disposal. This might be quite a big test of that, of course. But I'd be surprised if he abandoned the 3. I think he'll find a way to make it work. You've got you've got De Ligt and you've got Lisandro Martinez and you've got enough centre backs there. They've had massive injury problems, of course. The sad thing is Luke Shaw would be perfect, actually. I think for the way we'd want to play. I think you put Luke Shaw on the left hand side of that team and he'd do very well. But he's had so many injury problems that who knows. The wing backs are really important in terms of not only giving the team a bit of width, but also they will come back and make a five. He does demand that in terms of the way that he plays. So I'll be really interested to see if he does go there. And he was being quite coy about it. He was saying, look, it is my decision. I need more time. There were sporting fans openly weeping at the game tonight. And giving him a round of applause and what have you, which is not surprising considering they've won the league twice and they've won every game this season in the league.
Yeah.
But if he does go there, and I think he will, then I'd be surprised if he abandons that three at the back system because it served him so well.
You mentioned Victor Gyökeres. He scored 2 again tonight. He was linked with Arsenal in the summer, I think. Could we see Premier League clubs come in for him in January? Man United?
I'm not sure January. I don't think Sporting would want to let him go mid-season, but I think end of the season because the understanding is that in the summer there was a huge release clause. That release clause is still active and is at least 100 million euro. But there's a lot of reports suggesting that there's a gentleman's agreement that he can go for a more reasonable fee of between 60 and 70 in the summer. Chelsea have been linked with him. United have been linked with him. He's been absolutely outstanding for Sporting, for Sweden as well. He's a top player. So, yeah, I'd be amazed if Premier League clubs aren't in for him. January, I feel like it's a bit of a stretch.
Okay. Kev, just looking again at the shape of the team, because I find it fascinating. Of course, you do 3 at the back and 2 wing backs. There's going to be a space somewhere in the middle of the park. Casemiro, Eriksen, Fernandes. Who are going to be the winners in this team if he plays a 3? And who are the ones you fear for?
Well, I think Bruno Fernandes is interesting, right? Because he actually left Sporting before Amorim could work with him. And in theory, the way that he plays, that could work for Fernandes in the sense that if you look at Pedro Gonçalves, who's a kind of attacking midfielder, he got bucket loads of goals and assists. So in the season just gone, he got double figures goals, double figures assists. In the first season that they won the league, he got 23 goals from midfield, was the top scorer in the division. So Fernandes could be a winner. Just going back to your question about the wing backs, obviously we don't know when Malacia is going to be back. I quite like him. I think there's something in there.
Yeah, I like him.
But he's had so many injury problems. But I think there's something there that he could work with. Dallow's a very reliable guy. I mean, I'm still trying to get that miss at the weekend out my head because I can't quite understand how can you have that gorgeous touch over the goalkeeper and then miss the target entirely. But he's a super player, I think. And I think he could do a job. So they've got personnel to do it for now. There's going to be a period of adjustment. I think something that's really important, actually, is that they work with him, but don't indulge him in the way that they indulged Erik Ten Hag. Because if you look at who Ten Hag has brought in, it's undermined him because it hasn't worked. And I thought Anthony would be a much bigger hit than he's been. Because he'd done it in the Eredivisie, fine. That's not necessarily any guarantee. But he'd also looked really good in the Champions League. But he's been dreadful. He's had problems off the field. We know that. So how much has that played into it? But that has failed. And a lot of the guys that he's worked with previously at Ajax, they haven't found the same form. And so their policy has been too driven, I think, by him. And Amorim must be allowed input, but mustn't be allowed to drive the recruitment. It's got to be the other way around.
So how do you get Garnacho and Rashford into this team in their best positions if you're going to play that system?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at when he has played at Sporting, he's done it in different ways. So, for example, he'll have Gyökeres and 2 behind him. has had real success with Marcus Edwards as a wide player, and he's played a kind of fluid front three before as well, before Gyökeres got there. So I think Garnacho would have no problem at all. Rashford's, again, if he plays that system, I think that could work because he can play in a wider role. Whether you'd fit both of them in the same team, I'm not sure. But I think that there is scope for players like that with Amorim to actually do quite well.
The Sports Bar with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy. Monday to Thursday nights from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.